folks, Jim Dunn here. I am the director of the Canadian Housing Evidence Collaborative, and you may also know me from the Fixing Up Housing Policy Research to Reality podcast, which I co-host with Cynthia Blasky. And this video blog's coming out to you today because I'm here in Montreal at the study tour run by the Hamilton Community Foundation. So there's a group of us from Hamilton here seeing a number of sites and learning a few things about the housing ecosystem in Montreal. Got an august group on the tour, led by Terry Cook, the CEO of Hamilton Community Foundation. This is the 6th tour that Terry has done under his leadership, and we're very much privileged to be joined by Mayor Andrea Horvath, City Manager Marnie Klecki, and a number of other folks, primarily from the board of the Hamilton Community Foundation. So they've been a big supporter of using their capital for affordable housing. And so they're trying to grow their knowledge base, and a few of us are going to get to benefit as a result. The program's been put together and led by Steve Pomeroy, who you'll have a name you'll recognize from various CHEC communications. And we spent the morning learning about a number of different organizations, and particularly the social economy ecosystem here, which is really kind of a rich part of the culture of Montreal and of Quebec. And the social economy is involved in production of food, housing, environmental initiatives, childcare, from a number of different organizations across the province, and really amazing to be able to learn about that. What I think was, kind of immediately transferable were a couple of things, or maybe not immediately transferable, somewhat transferable, or a couple of things that we learned from a couple of other organizations. One is a network of financial institutions that help support affordable housing in Quebec, called CHEC is the name of the organization, and they have ways of essentially supporting the early stages of affordable housing development, acquisitions, when affordable housing is coming off of its long-term funding agreements and mortgages, they can support that. And it's essentially a consortium of different funding institutions that have different purposes. Some of them are, come from a credit union kind of history. Some of them are labor unions, labor union based, and so forth. And so really a potential for a great model, and where some of them are well suited to act on some projects, others are not. And so that's how they kind of play things. And then the other amazing thing we heard about were GRTs, a group Ressources Technicales, which are technical resource groups. Now, these were funded across Canada up until the early 90s by CMHC, and then CMHC, when it ended its funding for new social housing investments, most provinces ended their support for these technical resource groups, or very few provinces picked them up, but Montreal and Quebec did pick them up. So they picked up these technical resource groups and continued to fund them. And so they exist so that any kind of nonprofit can come and say, we want to develop some affordable housing. Can you help us? And so they have the technical skills to be able to take a development from inception to construction. And that's the kind of support that we need. And so if you've been listening to the podcast, Fixing Up Housing Policy from Research to Reality, available where you get your podcasts, you've heard me say that this is the kind of support that we need. This is the kind of implementation infrastructure that we need. And so that was really exciting to learn about. And then the afternoon, we spent touring around a couple of different things, and you'll see some photos of those things that include a rental acquisition building that has been purchased by a local nonprofit group with some support from the city and some other funders, a student housing building, and the student housing that's really interesting is this is an organization called UTIL, UTIL, and they work with student unions. So they're not affiliated with the universities per se, they're working with student unions. So the student unions are part of their governance. They help to raise funds for purchase and acquisition, and then they also help with placing students into the student housing. So that was pretty amazing. We also visited a neighborhood called Milton Park, which was a neighborhood that was saved from redevelopment in the 1970s. and it was slated for, the 1970s style renewal, where old heritage-based kinds of housing was just knocked down because it was considered to be inefficient, and it should be towers and so forth. And so this was saved, and there's a very, very strong community at Milton Park, and we spoke to a couple of residents there, and it was really fascinating history that came with that. And we also visited the Angus Land Revitalization, which is a huge brownfield redevelopment quite close to downtown. It used to be a place where trains delivered freight, but also where trains and other kinds of heavy machinery were produced and manufactured. And it was a 1 kilometer by 2 kilometer site. So a huge site, and it's in the process of being redeveloped into housing. And there's some photos that you'll see behind my voice of that as well. So all in all, a great day, some great learnings, lots of energy, and looking forward to day 2. And I'll come back after day 2 and let you know, and then we'll be back on the road after that to Hamilton to hopefully start applying some of these things. Thanks so much. Have a great day.